All right, time for Ask Ray and Riggs Anything. If you haven't submitted a question, we have multiple ways you can do that. You can get to us on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ray and Riggs, or on the website, rayandriggs.com. And as we've been doing for the last number of episodes, we're going to pick one of the submissions each week and deliver some Ray and Riggs merchandise. So you're talking about hats, you're talking about t-shirts, some real quality stuff available. So look forward to that. And some of it includes the Nike golf shirts, thanks to Canadian Club Whiskey for helping us with that. Let's start on Instagram, Ray, from Jeremy. Out of the travel nightmare stories for Ray, which is the most memorable? Now, Jeremy says his personal favorites, actually, Ray, kind of mirror mine. And that's you smashing nose first into the glass door. And then, as you so detailed described, getting locked out of the hotel room naked. That's I mean, those have to be top two. And Jeremy is suggesting maybe this becomes a weekly segment for us. But is there another one, or what is your most significant travel nightmare? Hard to top getting stuck outside the hotel room naked.
Yeah, that leads the pack. So this is not a travel nightmare. This was a prank that was played on me my last year with the Thrashers. Okay. So we go for lunch post practice. We're in Long Island.
Yeah.
So we're on the island. We got half a day free time. So we go for lunch. Myself, Jeff Odgers, Sean Donovan, and Chris Tamer.
Mm-hmm.
So we have lunch, whatever, and lunch kind of spills into dinner. And so I get back to my hotel room. At some point, we all kind of go our separate ways. I get back to my hotel room. I walk into my hotel room, and it is 500 degrees. And so I'm like, whoa, like it was so noticeable how hot it was. So I'm kind of flustered. I look. Everything in the room. So I want you to picture a hotel room, Dregs.
Yeah.
Everything in the room, everything is piled on my bed. So just think of what's in a hotel room. The dresser, the side tables, the lamps, the TV. It's all stacked up. And right at the top, the shower curtain is over top of all the furniture. So I go in the bathroom. There's not a bar of soap, a lotion, nothing in there. So I'm like,
no.
So I know it's these idiots. They've gone to the desk and somehow got my key. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I wonder what else they did. So I push the toilet. I go to flush the toilet. And the little tube of the toilet that goes into the big tube, they've got it propped forward. So if I was sitting on the toilet, that thing would have hit me right in the back. So it was so spectacular, brilliant. So then I had to go recruit a couple of guys to help me get all this crap off my bed so I could sleep. It was amazing. There wasn't another thing in the room that wasn't on my bed. That I think is one of my favorite travel.
That's fantastic. Okay, well, you mentioned Jeff Odgers, and I sent this to you earlier via text, but I'm doing the Monday Nooner podcast out of Saskatchewan later this week. Just some guys that love to talk hockey and have some fun. So we're connecting on the time, and I get a note back, and the guy says, "Hey, little side note from Sasky, 53-year-old Jeff Odgers suited up for his hometown of Rocanville in a senior hockey game. They only had 9 skaters, so his son must have convinced him to play. I don't know if it's Jonathan or Dakota, but anyway, one of them convinced him to play. He had a goal and 3 apples in an 11-2 win over Ituna."
Man, the only thing I want to know about that, which is amazing for Odge, but tell me he was running the power play off the half wall. As soon as you sent me that note, that thing was on my phone for 10 seconds before I forwarded it to Andrew Brunette. And he was like, "Attaboy, Audgie." Audgie, I think, would be in the top 10 favorite teammates of almost anybody that played with him. Just an amazing, funny guy. And oh my gosh, was he tough.
We got to get him back on the pod, because you remember that was in the early stages of Ray and Dregs.
Yeah.
And it was like he was on the moon. Like his mom came over to set up the Zoom or whatever. It was like he was cutting in and out.
Well, here's the thing. This is the connection. Dregs,
Yeah.
This is the connection. He's hot. He's hot. The roster freeze is coming off after the holidays. Maybe a team's got room.
Oh, that is so. Hey, by the way, this isn't breaking news, and I'll get to the next question because we're eating up time here. Would you be surprised if I told you that there have been several people, rich people, by the way, who have expressed interest in expansion to Atlanta again? Does that surprise you even a little bit?
Stunned. Yeah. Yes. Stunned.
Yeah. Well,
like honestly, it's failed twice. How many times?
I know. I can't imagine the NHL is in a hurry to go back, but I was just poking around a story earlier, or maybe late last week, over the weekend. I don't remember. Anyway, that's what I'm not trying to make something out of nothing here, but since we're talking about the connections,
beyond stunned. Yeah, stunned.
Okay. How about this one from Matthew Scott on Twitter? Hey, Ray and Dregs, listeners, since the first episode, Ray, during your career, which of your contracts was the hardest one to get done?
Okay, so I scored 40 goals in Hartford. I was making 125,000. So they come up with a rule somewhere along the line that they can never double a salary. It's a made up rule. There's no rule. They just like made it up.
That wouldn't have been a rule. Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I'm trying to get to 200,000. I've just scored 40 goals and they're offering 190.
Come on.
I'm in camp without a contract over 10 grand. And I dug my heels in and I got that 10 grand, Dregs.
Good for you.
That was the hardest one for sure. But they just said, yeah, we can't double contracts. And Steve Bartlett was my agent. And he's like, well, why not? And they're like, well, we have a rule on that. And Steve tells me, he goes, no, that's not a rule. That's a made up thing. But that's as far as we could get with it.
There's a legendary Darren Detition story at TSN back in the early days of a hard negotiation with, I think Keith Pelly was the boss at the time. A similar scenario, real close to getting the contract done. Anyway, there was a suggestion of body parts being involved in making the final decision. Anyway, it's such a typical Dutchy story. Hey, I'll tell you what. Anyway, all right. You know what? We're gonna have to wrap there. So this is a executive decision. I hope you support. Two really good questions, which we had some fun with. Right. So Jeremy on Instagram and Matthew Scott on Twitter. I say we send them each a Ray and Dregs shirt. How's that?
I'd like that. They were good questions today. I love that.
Yeah, in the holiday spirit, right? We're feeling very giving this week, so let's do that.
There's Christmas, Dregs, out there. We don't get this. This is your normal backyard, not ours.
I know. Yeah. Well, like you said earlier, it's a snow day for the boys, so get those sleds out and get rolling. Anything else planned for the rest of the week?
Oh, it doesn't matter what I've got planned until this gets pushed around. There's not going to be too much rolling around.
How about next week? How excited are you looking forward to next week? Because we've got Pat Flatley and Glenn Healy joining us on the podcast. I know what I'm doing, by the way. I'm just going to I'm going to drop the product acknowledgement of Canadian Club, and I'm going to get out of the way, and you three dum-dums can just tell us about how things were with the Islanders back in the day.
Okay, so I'm going to give you one. If you want a picture of what Healy and Flatley are like together, just YouTube up a little Muppet Show, the old guy sitting in the thing there.
Waldorf and
what was the other guy? Oh, I don't know. The two old guys that that would always. That is 100% those donkeys, and it was that in 1995, and it's that now.
That's outstanding. All right, well, we'll do that. We've got another podcast ready to drop. I guess what would it be? Episode 26. Is that where we're at?
Yep, that's the one.
Thursday, and then we're going to have 2 podcasts for next week, being the Christmas week. But who's kidding who? They're going to be pre-recorded, and you and I are going to be
the way it is.
eating turkey and drinking CC, the 45-year-old.
It's coming
Statler,
out.
there, Rob Gray just came through.
Oh,
Statler and
nice.
Waldorf.
Yep.
See, that's why I was stumbling and mumbling a little bit, just trying to give Rob Gray a little bit more time to execute that.
Well done.
All right,
Rob.
buddy.
Well done.
Have
Merry
a good
Christmas.
day.
Well, have a good holiday week shopping, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, time to acknowledge our partners to make the podcast possible each week. Our title sponsor, great friends at Canadian Club, who ask, are you over beer? Buy Boston Pizza, get it delivered, pick it up. Just let Boston Pizza do the cooking for you and your family tonight. And by Betano.ca, available now in Ontario. The game starts now. And by Doer, use code RND15 and you will save 15% off everything at Doer.ca. That is episode 25 of the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll check back on Thursday.